The rain hammered the windshield like it was trying to break through, but I couldn't stop driving. Not until the skyline of Seattle faded in the rearview, swallowed by the night. My hands gripped the wheel so tight my knuckles ached, the bruise on my wrist throbbing under my sleeve like a fresh accusation. I'd left everything behind. The apartment that reeked of his cologne, the friends who'd looked the other way, and Jake, who swore he'd change but always ended up with his fists clenched and his apologies laced with blame. I didn't plan to end up in Portland. It was just the first city that felt far enough, with its bridges and breweries that promised anonymity in the drizzle. I crashed at a cheap motel off I-5, the kind with flickering neon signs and thin walls where you could hear the couple next door arguing about whose turn it was to pay for gas. My phone buzzed nonstop, texts from Jake, voicemails that started sweet and turned sour, begging me to come back, because we're good together, you know that. I deleted them all, but the words stuck like tar in my chest. I was 24, out since high school, and thought I'd known what love looked like. Turns out, it looked a lot like walking on eggshells, apologizing for breathing too loud. The first morning, I woke up to the sound of garbage trucks rumbling outside, my body stiff from the lumpy mattress. I had $300 in my wallet, a duffel bag of clothes, and a resume that screamed barista with a psych degree gathering dust. Portland's job market was brutal, but I needed work fast. I showered under water that smelled like rust, pulled on my least wrinkled shirt, and headed out into the gray light. The streets were alive with hipsters on fixed-gear bikes and dog walkers in flannel, the air thick with the scent of coffee and wet pavement. I hit up every cafe within a 5-block radius, flashing my best smile, the one that hid the hollow ache behind my eyes. By noon, I'd struck out 4 times. My stomach growled, reminding me I hadn't eaten since a gas station burrito the night before. I ducked into a place called Brew Haven, not to apply, but because the aroma of fresh scones hit me like a lifeline. It was one of those spots with exposed brick walls, mismatched chairs, and a chalkboard menu that listed lattes with names like Foggy Morning Blues. I ordered a black coffee, cheapest thing on the board, and nursed it at a corner table, scrolling job listings on my cracked phone screen. That's when I saw him. Not Jake, thank God, but Ethan, Jake's best friend from back home, the one who'd always hovered on the edges of our chaos like a shadow. He was behind the counter, tying an apron with those long, deliberate fingers, his dark hair falling into his eyes in that effortless way that made him look like he just rolled out of bed thoughtful. Ethan was the quiet type, the guy who fixed your car without asking for credit or listened to your rants without interrupting. I'd always figured he tolerated Jake's volatility because they'd grown up together in some small Washington town, bonded over Little League and bad breakups. But seeing him here, in this cozy chaos of Portland, felt like the universe's cruel joke. He spotted me before I could bolt. His eyes widened, just a fraction, enough to show surprise, not judgment. And then he was weaving through the tables, a tentative smile breaking through. "Alex, what the hell are you doing in Portland?" I froze, coffee halfway to my lips. "Ethan, road trip. You know, seeing the sights." Lies tumbled out easy, survival instinct, I guess. He slid into the chair across from me, uninvited but not unwelcome. Up close, he looked tired, faint lines around his eyes that hadn't been there last summer. "Bullshit. You look like you haven't slept in days. And that bruise." He nodded at my wrist, voice dropping low. "Jake." My throat tightened. I yanked my sleeve down, but it was too late. Ethan's gaze was steady, not prying, just there, like he already knew the script. "It's nothing. I'm fine." "You're not." He leaned back, crossing his arms over a faded band tee that read Nirvana in peeling letters. "Look, I quit hanging with him months ago, after that party at his place, when well, you remember. I told him he was poison, and he laughed it off. But you deserve better than that." I stared at him, the words sinking in slow. Ethan, the eternal peacemaker, had cut ties? It shouldn't have mattered, but it did, like a crack in the foundation of the life I'd fled. "Why are you here? Portland's not exactly your scene." He shrugged, glancing back at the counter where a line was forming. "Needed a change too. Moved down last spring. Barista by day, graphic designer by night. Pays the bills." A beat, then softer. "You need a place to crash?" "My couch is lumpy, but it's free." I almost laughed, hysterical, relieved. The offer hung there, simple and unforced, no strings I could see. Ah, yeah? Maybe. Thanks. That was the hook that pulled me in, subtle as it was. Not the escape, not the rain-slicked roads, but Ethan showing up like a port in the storm I didn't know I was sailing into. We didn't talk much that first night. I followed his beat-up Subaru to a duplex in southeast Portland, the kind of neighborhood where porches sagged under potted ferns and neighbors waved from lawn chairs. His place was on the second floor, cluttered with sketch pads, empty takeout containers, and a massive bookshelf groaning under comics and philosophy tomes. The couch was, as promised, lumpy, a pullout that creaked like it had stories of its own, but it beat the motel. He tossed me a blanket that smelled like laundry detergent and pine, muttered something about eggs in the fridge, and vanished into his room. I lay there in the dark, listening to the hum of the fridge and the distant wail of a siren. My mind replayed Jake's last outburst, the shattered glass, the way he'd grabbed my arm and whispered, "You're mine, Alex. Don't make me prove it." I'd loved him once, fierce and foolish, back when his jealousy felt like passion. We'd met at a pride event in Seattle, him all charisma and tattoos, me fresh out of college and starving for connection. Our friends envied the intensity, called it real love. But real love didn't leave marks you had to hide. Sleep came in fits, broken by dreams of pursuit. Jake's face morphing into shadows, chasing me down endless alleys. When morning light filtered through the blinds, I found Ethan in the kitchen, flipping pancakes with a focus that bordered on meditative. He slid a plate my way without a word, black coffee steaming beside it. "Job hunt today?" he asked, finally. "Yeah, got an interview at that bookstore on Hawthorne." He nodded, pouring syrup. "Good spot. Quiet crowd, decent tips on weekends." A pause, fork scraping china. "If you need a reference, I can vouch. Known you long enough." I met his eyes then, really looked. They were hazel, flecked with green, holding a depth that made my chest ache. Not with fear, but something softer, unnamed. "Why are you doing this? You barely know me outside of Jake's bullshit." Ethan set his fork down, wiping his hands on a dish towel. "Because I do know you. From the barbecues, the late-night drives. You're the guy who remembers everyone's coffee order, who laughs at dumb memes even when you're exhausted." Jake. He dimmed that, but it's still there. He stood, rinsing his plate. "Besides, I owe you. For putting up with him as long as you did. Saved me from being his full-time punching bag, I guess." It was the first crack in his quiet facade, a glimpse of the weight he carried. Ethan had always been the buffer, the one Jake called at 2 a.m. after a bender, the friend who cleaned up the messes without complaint. I'd envied that loyalty once, wondered what it would feel like to have someone like him in my corner. Now, here he was, offering it freely. The bookstore interview went okay. Awkward small talk with a manager who eyed my sleeve like she could see the fading purple, and I got the gig starting next week. Ethan celebrated with takeout Thai from a spot around the corner, spicy enough to make my eyes water. We ate on the floor, backs against the couch, trading stories about high school crushes and disastrous first dates. He confessed to a botched prom night with a guy from the debate team, complete with stolen sips of champagne and a kiss that tasted like regret. I shared my coming-out disaster with conservative parents who still sent birthday cards with Bible verses tucked inside. Laughter came easier than I expected, loosening the knot in my gut. But as the night wore on, the conversation drifted to Jake. "He texted me last week," Ethan said, scrolling his phone absent-mindedly. "Asked if I'd seen you." I lied, said no. Blocked him after. "Good." The word came out sharper than intended. "He doesn't deserve to know where I am." Ethan's thumb stilled. "He'll find out eventually. Seattle's not that big a pond." The room felt smaller suddenly, the air thick with unspoken fears. I pushed my plate away, appetite gone. What if he shows up? What if he won't? Ethan's voice was firm, cutting through the panic. He set his phone down, turning to face me fully. "And if he does, you're not alone. Not anymore." It was a promise, simple as that, but it landed like an anchor. I nodded, swallowing hard, and we cleaned up in silence. When I unfolded the couch later, his door clicked shut softly, but I could feel the thread between us tightening, fragile and new. Days blurred into a rhythm. Mornings were for job hunting and unpacking my duffel into a corner of the living room. Socks in a drawer he cleared for me. a toothbrush in the bathroom holder next to his. Afternoons, I'd wander the bridges, sketching the Willamette River on napkins from Brew Haven, while Ethan slung espresso shots with that quiet efficiency. Evenings, we'd cook. Badly, mostly, burnt stir-fries and overcooked pasta, laughing at the smoke alarm's wails. But under the ease, tension simmered. I'd catch myself flinching at loud noises or staring too long at my reflection, tracing the scars that weren't visible but felt permanent. Ethan noticed, of course. He had a way of doing that, reading the room without words. One night, after a shift where a customer yelled about a wrong order and I nearly spiraled, he waited until we were home, then pulled out a deck of cards from a drawer. Tarot. I raised an eyebrow, slumping onto the couch. Sort of. My grandma's old deck. She swore it fixed everything. He shuffled with practiced hands, laying out 3 cards. The Tower for upheaval, the Star for hope, the Lovers for. Well, choices. See? Your story's not over. Just rebuilding. I traced the faded edges, the knight on horseback and the star looking oddly like him. You believe this stuff? Not really, but it makes you think. He gathered the cards, our knees brushing. About what comes next. What came next was a text from an old friend back in Seattle. Jake's asking around. Says you're confused, need help. Watch your back. My hands shook as I showed Ethan, the words blurring. He read it once, then deleted it from my phone without asking. Ignore it. He's grasping. But doubt crept in, a whisper that maybe I was the problem, the dramatic one, the runaway. Late that night, I slipped out for a walk, the city lights reflecting off puddles like shattered promises. Ethan found me on the porch, huddled in my jacket. Can't sleep? Not with him in my head. I hugged my knees, voice small. What if I drag you into this mess? He sat beside me, close enough that our shoulders touched. The contact was electric, grounding. Then we face it together. Mess and all. His words wrapped around me, warmer than the blanket I'd left inside. For the first time since fleeing, I believed it might be possible. To heal, to trust again. Little did I know, the real storm was just brewing. One that would test every fragile bond we'd started to weave. Weeks turned the couch into something like home, its lumps familiar now, like an old friend's quirks. I started at the bookstore, shelving romance novels with dog-eared pages that spoke of second chances I wasn't sure I deserved. The manager, a no-nonsense woman named Rita with a buzz cut and a tattoo of Audre Lorde on her forearm, took one look at my resume and said, "Psych degree? We'll put you on the recommendation desk. People need more than algorithms these days." It was steady work, surrounded by stories that mirrored my own fractures, loves lost in translation, identities reclaimed in quiet rebellions. Ethan's shifts at Brew Haven overlapped mine some days, so we'd meet for lunch at food carts, splitting falafel wraps under the awning of a Lebanese spot that played oud music on loop. He'd sketch on napkins while I rambled about quirky customers, the elderly lesbian couple who came in every Saturday for date books, or the trans kid nervously buying his first poetry collection. Ethan listened, really listened, his pencil pausing mid-stroke, hazel eyes locking on mine with that intensity that made my pulse stutter. "You're good at this," he said one afternoon, as rain pattered the metal roof above us. "Seeing people, making them feel seen." Heat crept up my neck. Comes with the territory, or the trauma. I tried to laugh it off, but he didn't join in. Instead, he reached across the table, his fingers brushing mine. Just a graze, accidental maybe, but it lingered like static. That night, we hosted a movie marathon, a ritual born of rainy evenings and shared Netflix passwords. He picked Brokeback Mountain, claiming it was classic Portland vibes, but I caught the way his jaw tightened during the tense scenes, the unspoken parallels to his own guarded heart. Halfway through, I paused it. "You ever feel like that? Like love's this mountain you climb alone?" Ethan stretched, cat-like, on the floor cushions. "All the time." Jake was intense, but my ex before him, timid guy from art school. We tiptoed around everything. Feelings, fights, the future. Ended because neither of us spoke up. He rolled to face me, propped on an elbow. "You?" Beyond the obvious. I hesitated, the vulnerability tasting bitter. My first was a summer fling in college. Straight passing by guy who ghosted when his frat brothers started asking questions. Taught me to build walls fast. The admission hung heavy. But Ethan's nod was understanding, no pity. Walls keep out the rain, but they trap the air too. He sat up, closer now, the space between us charged. Maybe it's time to crack one open. Our eyes met, and for a heartbeat, I thought he might lean in, might bridge the gap with those steady hands. But he pulled back, grabbing the remote instead. Finish the movie? Yeah. My voice was rough, the almost moment echoing louder than the dialogue. The next day brought the first real ripple. I was closing up the bookstore when my phone lit up with an unknown number. A photo of my Seattle apartment building, time-stamped that morning, followed by "Miss me yet?" My blood ran cold. Jake. He'd always been good at tracking, hacking passwords, charming mutuals. I blocked it, but the damage was done. Paranoia slithered in, making every shadow a threat. I didn't tell Ethan right away. Instead, I showed up at Brew Haven soaked from a sudden downpour, claiming a rideshare flaked. He saw through it, of course, dried my hair with a towel in the back room, brewed me a chamomile that tasted like calm. "Spill," he said, leaning against the sink. I did, haltingly, the photo burning a hole in my pocket. His face darkened, not with anger at me, but something fiercer. "He's crossing lines. We need to report it." "No cops." The words burst out. "They'll think it's drama. Two guys fighting over nothing. And what if he spins it? Says I'm unstable?" Ethan's hand found my shoulder, firm and warm. "Then we make them listen. Together." He didn't push, just stayed there until my shakes subsided, then drove us home with the radio low on indie folk, songs about wandering hearts finding harbors. That harbor became literal one weekend when Ethan suggested a drive to the coast. Cannon Beach, Haystack Rock, tide pools, the works. Clear your head. I agreed, desperate for open sky. The highway wound through evergreens, windows down, salt air whipping in as we sang off-key to the National. At the beach, we kicked off shoes, the sand cool and gritty underfoot. Waves crashed like applause, and for hours we wandered, poking sea anemones, skipping stones, the world reduced to foam and laughter. He found a crab scuttling sideways, scooped it gently into a tide pool. "Look at that. Armored, but still dances." His smile was rare, unguarded, and it hit me how beautiful he was, not in Jake's flashy way, but steady, like the rock formations we'd climbed. We sat on a driftwood log as sunset painted the sky peach and lavender. "Thanks for this," I said, shoulder bumping his. "Feels like breathing again." "Anytime." His voice was soft, eyes on the horizon. Then, quieter. "Alex, about the other night." My heart tripped. "The almost." "Yeah." He turned, our faces inches apart, breath mingling with sea mist. "I don't want to rush. But I feel." A gull screeched overhead, shattering the moment. I laughed nervously. Timing's our enemy. He grinned, rueful. "Story of my life." But as we packed up, his hand brushed my back, deliberate this time, a promise deferred. Back in Portland, the bubble burst. Jake's texts escalated. Voicemails slurring apologies laced with threats, a mutual friend cornered at a bar spilling my location. Ethan changed my number, set up a group chat with Rita and a couple bookstore allies for a safety net. It felt communal, empowering, but the fear gnawed. Nights where I'd jolt awake, convinced footsteps echoed in the hall. One evening, after a shift where a customer mistook my flinch for rudeness and complained, I snapped at Ethan over dinner, unfairly, about his fixer tendencies. "I don't need saving, okay? I'm not broken." He recoiled, fork clattering. "Never said you were. Just hate seeing you hurt." The silence stretched, thick as fog. Guilt twisted in me. "I'm sorry. It's him, not you." The waiting for the next shoe to drop. He nodded, slow. "I get it. More than you know." Then, voice cracking just a hair. "Jake wasn't always like that. We were kids together, building forts, dreaming big. Watched him change, excused it because family, you know. But losing you to him, that was the wake-up. You blame yourself?" The idea floored me. A little. He rubbed his neck, vulnerable. Should have spoken up sooner. I reached for his hand then, lacing fingers, a first, electric. "You are now? That's enough." We held on, the touch saying what words couldn't. But as plates cleared, my phone buzzed. A new number, a voice message. "Ethan? I know you're hiding him. Tell Alex to call, or I'll come get him myself." Jake's voice, sober and sinister. Ethan played it once, then smashed his mug against the sink, shards flying, coffee splattering. Fuck him. We're done playing nice. In that shatter, something in us broke free too. Anger turning to resolve, friendship deepening into uncharted waters. Little did we know, Jake was already en route, the collision course set. The days after the mug incident felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm. Ethan reported the voicemail to the police, a non-emergency line that took his statement with polite detachment, promising to look into it if patterns emerged. I hovered in the background, arms crossed, feeling exposed under the fluorescent lights of the station. They think it's just ex-drama, he muttered as we left, rain slicking the parking lot. Two guys, no visible threat. Welcome to queer life in America. I shot back, bitter. Invisible until it's too late. He squeezed my elbow, a silent solidarity that steadied me. Back home, we fortified. New locks on the doors, a Ring camera funded by pooling tips, and a pact to never walk alone after dark. It was practical, but it amped the tension. Every creak a suspect, every shadow Jake's silhouette. Sleep evaded me, replaced by pacing and playlists of angry punk rock to drown the what-ifs. Work became my refuge. The bookstore buzzed with pre-holiday energy, shoppers hunting gifts, strings of fairy lights twinkling in the windows. Rita pulled me aside one slow afternoon, her voice low over stacks of queer lit. Heard about the ex. You need time off? Or a couch at mine? I shook my head, grateful. Nah, shelving keeps me sane. And it did, recommending Heartstopper to blushing teens, debating Octavia Butler with a sci-fi diehard. It reminded me of the world beyond my bubble, the quiet revolutions happening in dog-eared pages. Ethan threw himself into design gigs, freelancing logos for local nonprofits, a shelter for LGBTQ youth, a food bank in the Pearl District. He'd work late at the kitchen table, laptop glow illuminating his focused frown, occasionally glancing up to share a draft. What do you think? Too corporate. I'd lean in, our heads close, inhaling his scent of ink and cedar. Nah, it's you. Clean lines, hidden depth. Our banter flowed easy, laced with that undercurrent now, the brush of arms when passing salt, the way his laugh lingered on my jokes. One night, emboldened by a bottle of cheap Pinot, we tackled the elephant. Curled on the couch, me with feet tucked under his thigh, a rom-com flickering ignored, we broached the coast confession. You started something on the beach, I said, swirling my glass. Then bailed. He chuckled, self-deprecating. Coward move. Truth is, I've liked you since that barbecue last year. The way you danced in the kitchen to bad 90s pop, zero cares. Jake was there, so, buried it. My heart somersaulted. Me too. You were the calm in his storm. Made me wonder what it'd be like without the thunder. His fingers traced my wrist, gentle over the healed bruise. No thunder here. Just us. The kiss was inevitable, soft at first, testing, like dipping toes in unknown waters. His lips were warm, tasting of wine and honesty, hands cupping my face with a reverence that undid me. It deepened slow, exploratory, bodies shifting closer until I was half in his lap, breaths mingling in sighs. No rush, no demands, just the exquisite unraveling of guards long held. We broke apart flushed, foreheads pressed. This okay? He whispered, thumb stroking my cheek. More than. I smiled, real and rare. But slow. I need. Steady. Steady it is. He kissed my temple, settling us back to watch the credits roll, his arm a weighted blanket of safety. Bliss was brief. The next morning, a knock rattled the door, insistent, rhythmic. Ethan peered through the peephole, face paling. It's him. Jake. Here, on our doorstep, looking every bit the disheveled storm. Unshaven, eyes bloodshot, a duffel slung over his shoulder like he planned to stay. Open up, F. I know Alex is in there. We need to talk. My stomach plummeted. I backed into the kitchen, heart hammering. Ethan cracked the door, chain latched. Not a good time, man. Go home. Jake's laugh was jagged. Home? With you two playing house? Come on, I drove all night. Alex, baby, I forgive you. That stuff I said. Heat of the moment. Forgive me. I stepped forward, voice steel despite the tremor. You stalked me. Broke laws. That's not love, Jake. That's control. His face twisted, hurt morphing to fury. Control? I made you. Gave you purpose. Without me, you're just some lost queer kid scraping by. Ethan's hand found mine, squeezing. He's not lost. And you're not welcome. Leave, or I call the cops. Jake lunged at the chain, rattling it. You traitor. My best friend, stealing my boyfriend? I'll ruin you both. The door held, but the threat echoed. He pounded once more, then retreated, muttering curses that faded down the stairs. We bolted it, leaning against the wood, breaths ragged. He's gone, Ethan said, but his eyes said otherwise. He wasn't. That afternoon, Jake cornered me outside the bookstore, waited in the alley, reeking of stale beer. One chance, Alex. Come back, or I tell everyone you're crazy. Pills, breakdowns, the works. Even your folks. Lies, mostly, but twisted truths from our fights. I shoved past, dialing Ethan as I ran. He's here. Pick me up now. Ethan arrived in minutes, car screeching to a halt. I dove in, locking doors. Drive. We didn't stop until the suburbs, a park with swing sets empty in the dusk. I spilled it all, sobs choking words. Ethan held me, rocking gentle. He's bluffing. We'll fight it. But doubt festered. Friends from Seattle started ghosting, poisoned by Jake's narrative. Rita got a call, hanging up mid-shift with that asshole. Even Ethan's freelance client queried his stability. The climax built slow, a pressure cooker. We attended a support group at a local center, queer survivors of intimate partner violence, sharing stories in a circle of folding chairs. Hearing others' scars mirrored mine, validating the invisible wounds. Ethan went too, voice steady as he admitted his role as enabler. I stayed silent too long. Won't again. It bonded us deeper, but Jake's shadow loomed. He emailed Ethan's boss at Brewhaven, anonymously, claiming unreliable employee in a volatile relationship. The manager called Ethan in, awkward but supportive. We value you. Ignore the noise. Gratitude mixed with rage. That night, we confronted it head-on, wrote a joint statement for the police, detailing the harassment. As we signed, our hands brushed, a reminder of what we protected. Then the twist, a call from Jake's sister, Mia, who I'd always liked. He's spiraling. Therapy, maybe? But he mentioned. Ethan. Said you two were always too close. Made him jealous even before. The revelation stunned. Jake's toxicity rooted deeper, in unrequited feelings for Ethan. It reframed everything. The barbs, the isolations. He pitted us. I whispered to Ethan later, piecing it. Us against him. Ethan nodded, grim. Explains the venom. But doesn't excuse it. The high tide came at a pride event downtown. Rainbow flags snapping in wind, floats blaring pop anthems. We went for normalcy, hands linked in the crowd. Joy bubbled, face paint, drag performances, the electric hum of chosen family. But midway, Jake appeared, pushing through revelers, face flushed with drink. There you are. Chaos erupted. He grabbed my arm, yanking hard. Enough games. Ethan surged forward, shoving him back. Let go. Fists flew, Jake swinging wild, connecting with Ethan's jaw. I screamed, pulling at Jake, the crowd circling but hesitant. Security swarmed, pinning Jake as he roared. He's mine. You stole him. Cops arrived, statements taken amid flashing lights. Jake was cuffed, led away bellowing denials. In the aftermath, Ethan iced his bruise, me bandaging a scraped knuckle. It's over, he said, wincing. But was it? The arrest was misdemeanor assault, a slap on the wrist with a restraining order. Jake's family bailed him out by morning. We retreated to the duplex, barricaded. That night, curled together, I traced Ethan's swelling. You fought for me. Always will. His kiss was fierce, affirming. We're the safe place now. Yet Dawn brought me his text. He's out, heading back north. But he left something for you. A package arrived later. My old journal, pages torn, scrawled with "You broke me" in red ink. The violation chilled. We burned it in the sink, flames licking words to ash. Phoenix style, Ethan joked weakly. Healing resumed, tentative. Therapy sessions for me, unpacking Jake's gaslighting. Ethan joining couples once, navigating our new dynamic. Friendships mended, Rita hosting game nights, old Seattle allies reaching out post-arrest news. Surprises peppered the path. Ethan's promotion to shift lead, my psych side hustle tutoring online, and love, blossoming quiet, in stolen coffees and sunset walks. But prejudices lingered. A neighbor whispered about that fight, eyes lingering judgmental. At group, a newcomer eyed our hand holding warily. Thought this was survivors, not hookups. It can be both, Ethan countered, calm. Love heals too. His words became mantra. Months in, Jake violated the order. A letter, postmarked Seattle, pleading therapy progress. We forwarded it to his PO, no reply. The true climax? A call from Jake himself. Months later, voice broken. I was wrong. About everything. Hurting you. It was me hurting myself. Projected. Sobs. Then, be happy. For real. Click. We sat stunned, then laughed. Cathartic. Free. Forgiveness? Not yet. But release, yes. In the quiet after, Ethan proposed a road trip. Back to Cannon Beach. Full circle. Under Haystack Rock. Waves serenading, he dropped to one knee. Not ring, but a sketched map. Our adventures. From here on. Tears blurred. Yes. All in. We kissed as tide rolled in. The safe place no longer a couch, but each other. Rebuilt, unbreakable. After the pride scuffle, the restraining order felt like tissue paper against a gale. Jake vanished north, but echoes lingered. Anonymous Yelp reviews trashing Brew Haven, sketchy staff drama. My bookstore profile dinged with fake 1 stars. Rita laughed it off, badge of honor in queer retail, but it stung, a reminder that toxicity seeps, staining by proximity. Ethan bore the brunt quietly, his jaw bruise fading to yellow as new stresses bloomed. A design client bailed, citing personal concerns gleaned from gossip mills. It's fine, he'd say, sketching furiously into the night, but I saw the toll, the way he'd rub his temples, hazel eyes shadowed. I pushed therapy solo at first, unpacking Jake's web, how his passion masked insecurity, rooted in a childhood of absent dads and small-town sneers. He saw me as his redemption. I told the counselor, a soft-spoken non-binary therapist named Jordan, the gay best friend who fixed his straight-passing facade. When I left, it cracked his mirror. Jordan nodded, jotting notes. And you? What did you seek in him? Validation. The word tasted true, raw. Someone to shout my queerness from rooftops. But he shouted over me. Sessions unearthed more, my own patterns, people-pleasing etched from family dinners where dad's silence on my orientation spoke volumes. You're enough, Jordan affirmed. As is. I shared snippets with Ethan over late-night teas, herbal blends he brewed like potions. You're dissecting me, he teased once, but his smile held warmth. Only to rebuild better. I bumped his foot under the table. Couples therapy next? If you're game. He agreed, hesitant. Our first session was a minefield, Ethan admitting his enabler guilt. I laughed off Jake's red flags, told myself it was loyalty, me confessing resentment for his past silence. You were there, Ethan. Witness to the wreckage, but mute. Jordan mediated, gentle probes revealing threads. Ethan's fear of abandonment, from a mom who bailed when he came out at 15, leaving him couch surfing with Jake's family. I clung to him as anchor, he said, voice thick. Didn't see he was dragging me under too. Tears came then, mutual, cathartic. We left hand in hand. The air between us aerated, lighter. Friendships wove back in threads. Mia, Jake's sister, visited unannounced one drizzly Sunday, petite, with his eyes but none of his storm. She hugged me fierce at the door. I'm sorry. For everything. He's in rehab now, court-mandated. Talking real shit. About us, the family, how dad's homophobia poisoned the well. We talked hours, over Ethan's pancakes and coffee refills. She revealed Jake's jealousy of Ethan. Always the steady one, the good gay, while Jake flailed. It humanized him, not excused, but softened edges. He loves you, Alex. Twisted, but there. And you. She eyed Ethan. You too? It's right. Don't let his mess eclipse it. Her blessing lingered, a balm. We hosted Rita and her wife for board games next, Monopoly with queer twists, properties named after drag queens. Laughter echoed, chasing ghosts. But misunderstandings brewed anew. At work, a co-worker, well-meaning but clueless, overheard my phone call to Jordan. misconstrued it as fresh breakup drama. Gossip spread. Alex is rebounding hard. Ethan's just collateral. It hit Ethan first, a offhand comment from a regular at Brew. Heard your roommate's ex is causing waves. You okay, kid? He confronted me gentle that night, over reheated lasagna. People talk. About us being. Pity project or something. My fork paused. Pity? Is that what you think? No. Quick, fervent. But doubt creeps. Am I your safe space? Or just convenient rebound? The question pierced. I set down utensils, reaching for him. You're the first real since. Ever. Not rebound. Rebirth. He searched my face, then pulled me close. Prove it. I did, with words first, listing moments. The beach graze, the tarot trust, the pride shove. Then actions, planning a weekend away, just us, to Astoria, cliffs, canneries, history's hush. The drive was therapy in motion, windows down, arguing playlists, his folk versus my indie rock. Astoria welcomed with fog-shrouded streets, the Goonies' house a whimsical stop. We hiked Young's River Falls, mist kissing skin, hands linked on slick paths. At a seaside inn, creaky floors, ocean view room, we unpacked not just bags, but burdens. Remember the coast almost kiss? Ethan said, unpacking sandwiches on the balcony. I froze because, what if I couldn't be enough? After Jake's chaos. You're more. I fed him a bite, deliberate. Steady doesn't mean boring. It's brave. Sunset sealed it. Kisses evolving languid. Bodies entwining on crisp sheets. Exploration tender, attuned to breaths and boundaries. No frenzy, just presence. His fingers mapping my spine, my lips tracing his collarbone. Whispers of here and yes. Dawn found us tangled, sunlight gilding skin, the world vast and kind. Back in Portland, conflict crested unexpectedly. A letter arrived, not from Jake, but Ethan's ex, the art school timid one. Heard you're with someone. Happy for you. But remember, he runs from depth. Old flames flicker, insecurities ignite. Ethan crumpled it, but seeds planted. What if he's right? I do retreat, into sketches, silence. I burned the note that night, our ritual. Then I'll chase. We're not solo anymore. Prejudices surfaced externally too. A bookstore patron, overhearing my recommendation of Fun Home, sneered. Pushing agendas again? Rita ejected him, but the barb stuck, echoing societal undercurrents. We countered with action, volunteering at the youth center, Ethan's designs for their zine, me facilitating a book club on coming-out tales. Kids' stories, raw, resilient, mirrored ours, forging family. The high drama peaked mid-fall, Jake's rehab release, a supervised visit Mia requested. Closure, she urged. For all. Against Ethan's protests, I agreed. Neutral ground. A park bench in Vancouver, Washington, halfway point. Jake arrived gaunt, eyes clear but haunted. Alex. Ethan couldn't come. His choice. I sat distant, arms crossed. He nodded, deflated. Fair. Look, rehab stripped me bare. The jealousy? It was me hating myself. Hating that I wanted Ethan once, kid crushes, and settled for possessing you instead. The confession landed like a gut punch, reframing betrayals. You used me as proxy. Yeah. Tears tracked. I'm sorry. Truly. Working on it. For me, finally. No hugs, no absolutes, but a door cracked. Driving home, I processed aloud via speaker to Ethan, he's broken. But so was I staying. Silence, then, proud of you. But if he slips, he won't. Not with eyes open. Winter blanketed Portland in rare snow, softening edges. We decorated the duplex, string lights, a tree topped with a sketched star. Holiday cards from allies, Mia's gift of family photos, edited sans Jake. New Year's, we toasted on the roof, fireworks blooming over the river. To safe places, Ethan murmured, nuzzling my neck. And the hearts that build them. Our kiss tasted of champagne and forever. Yet depth demanded more. Ethan's vulnerability peaking in a panic attack, post a nightmare of loss. I held him through it, rocking, murmuring affirmations till dawn. You're stuck with me, I teased later. Promise. His grip tightened. Swear. Spring thawed conflicts, growth sprouting. Jake's updates sporadic, Steady job, therapy ongoing. Distance healed. Our story. Ongoing, love as verb, daily rebuilt. In misunderstandings mended, prejudices challenged, surprises savored. The quiet best friend? My anchor, my spark. Together, unbreakable. But let's peel deeper, because true drama thrives in the unspoken, the psychological labyrinths where characters grapple not just with exes, but selves. Our narrative twisted further that spring, as Portland's cherry blossoms mocked the frost still clinging to our psyches. Ethan's attack lingered like a bruise beneath the skin. He'd wake gasping some nights, convinced Jake's shadow loomed, irrational, but rooted in years of proximity to volatility. It's stupid, he'd mutter, punching pillows into submission. He's gone. Not stupid. Human. I'd draw him baths, eucalyptus steam curling, hands massaging tension from shoulders knotted like ropes. Trauma's a thief, steals sleep, plants doubts. He'd lean back, eyes closing. How do you know so much? Psych books. And living it. My fingers worked lower, kneading, eliciting sighs that bordered intimate. We're in this echo chamber together now. Therapy evolved us. Individual sessions bleeding into joint. Jordan praising our radical honesty. Ethan unpacked his silence as armor. Mom left. Dad drank. Jake was the constant, flawed as he was. Admitting he was toxic? Felt like betraying family. And me? I probed. One session. Did I enable two? His gaze softened. You survived. That's strength, not complicity. But external pressures mounted. Brewhaven's owner, a gruff ex-hippie named Carl, pulled Ethan aside post a slow shift. Kid, love the work, but that drama with your ex's ex? Customers whisper. Clean it up or what? Ethan's voice, I learned later, was ice. Fire me for being queer and targeted? Carl backpedaled, mumbling misunderstanding, but the seed of prejudice sprouted, subtle discrimination, the kind that erodes slow. I fumed when Ethan relayed it, pacing our kitchen. Sue the bastard. Or unionize. He chuckled, weary. Portland's progressive, but pockets of old guard linger. I'll job hunt quietly. It sparked conflict between us, my fire urging confrontation, his water preferring flow. You always diffuse. I snapped one evening, over cold pizza. What if it's not enough? His fork clattered. And your fight? It nearly got you hurt at pride. Balance, Alex, not battle every hill. The words stung, echoing Jake's accusations of recklessness. I stormed to the balcony, city lights blurring through hot tears. Ethan followed, tentative. Hey, that came out wrong. I turned raw. Do you regret us? The mess we drag. His arms encircled from behind, chin on shoulder. Regret? Never. The depth? Terrifies. But worth it. A kiss to my neck, apologetic. Teach me your fire. We reconciled in whispers, bodies aligning on the couch, kisses fierce, affirming, hands exploring with intent born of friction resolved. Team, he breathed against my skin. Always. Job hunt yielded fruit. A design firm in the Pearl, sleek office with skyline views. Ethan's interview aced, his portfolio, infused now with personal motifs, like intertwined roots for a queer health org, sealing it. To new chapters, we toasted that night, craft beer clinking. Mine bloomed too. Rita promoted me to events coordinator, author readings, pride panels. First gig, a talk with a trans memoirist, crowd electric with questions on identity's fluidity. Post-event, a fan approached. Your Rex changed my life. Thank you. Validation, pure. Ethan attended, beaming from back row. Killing it. Misunderstandings arose anew, insidious. Mia visited again, bearing Jake's amends. A handwritten letter, therapy speak heavy. I projected my shadows onto your light. Working shadows now. But tucked in, a photo of us three from happier days, circled with what we lost. She watched my face. Not pressure. Just, he's trying. I folded it away. Appreciate it. But trust rebuilds slow. Ethan, overhearing later, bristled. Trying? After the hell. People change. My words, measured. Or try to. His jaw set. And if he doesn't? You're soft-hearted. Don't let it pull you back. The accusation ignited. Soft? Or forgiving? You've got your walls. I've got hope. Both valid. He paced, raking hair. Hope's dangerous. blinded me to his truth once. We aired it over walks, river paths, ducks quacking indifference. I see you protecting me, I said finally, halting under a willow. But from what? Ghosts. From hurt. His voice cracked. Losing you to his pull. The fear laid bare, we mended with honesty. Boundaries set, Mia's updates filtered. Love deepened in vulnerability's wake. Nights mapping tattoos, his subtle wave on ribcage, symbolizing tides of change. Mine a phoenix on ankle, rising. Surprises punctuated. Ethan's firm assigned a project, branding for a LGBTQ archive, interviewing elders on Stonewall Echoes. He came home electric. Stories like ours, but fiercer. Beaten, still marching. Inspired, we attended an oral history night. Candlelit room, voices weaving tapestries of resilience. A veteran activist gripped my hand. You kids? Keep building. We cleared paths. You pave roads. Tears pricked. Ethan's squeeze. Our road. Conflict crested at a firm mixer. Networking schmooze, suits, and small talk. Ethan's boss, a slick millennial named Trent, cornered us. Ethan's talent shines, but that personal buzz? Tone it down. Client's conservative. Prejudice veiled as advice. Ethan nodded polite, but fury simmered homeward. Tone down queerness? Fuck that. We strategized. Document, ally hunt, perhaps pivot firms. But it unearthed my own doubt. Am I the buzz? Your liability. He halted the car. Fierce. Never. You're my why. Passion followed. Home. Door barely shut. Kisses urgent. Clothes shed in trail. Bodies conversed where words faltered. His mouth on my throat. My nails grazing back. Rhythms sinking in trust rebuilt. After, sated, he traced my hip. Liability? Asset. Every curve. Summer sweltered in. Tensions easing with heat. Jake's progress reports neutral, steady, distant. A surprise call from him, supervised. Heard about the archive. Proud. Mean it. Click. We processed. Growth acknowledged. No bridges burned hasty. High tide. Ethan's coming out anniversary. He planned a quiet dinner. Rooftop picnic. Stars pricking velvet sky. 15 years, he toasted. From scared kid to this. I clinked glasses. To the quiet one who roars. Dessert led to depths. Sharing fantasies, not carnal, but emotional. Adopting someday, traveling coasts, writing our story. Not for pity, he said. For proof. Love wins quiet wars. Our kiss sealed vows unspoken, hands linked under moon. Yet drama demands twist. A email from Tim, Ethan's ex. Congrats on the gig. But Ethan's patterns? Flees when close. Careful. Echo of prior doubt. Ethan deleted, but I saw. Old noise, I dismissed. Valid fear. He sighed. I do pull back, self-sabotage. Then sabotage together. Therapy tool. Weekly check-ins. Voicing retreats before they root. Prejudices challenged publicly. Bookstore panel on queer narratives in crisis. Me moderating. Crowd diverse. Questions probing. How do you love post-trauma? Deliberately, I answered. With grace for slips. Ethan in audience, eyes proud. Fall foliage turned. Conflicts mellowing to embers. Jake's final surprise. A check. Restitution for damages. Note. Start fresh. We donated it. Youth shelter. Closure. Communal. Winter whispered peace. Snow blanketing old scars. New Year's Eve. Balcony again. To depths navigated. His arm around me. And heights ahead. Our safe place. Evolving. Not static harbor, but vessel. Sailing storms with sails of trust. Depth demands denouement not pat, but earned. Where characters emerge scarred yet soaring. Conflicts resolved in ripples, not roars. As autumn waned, Portland's leaves carpeted streets in crimson and gold, mirroring the slow shed of our burdens. The restitution check's donation felt symbolic, transmuting pain to purpose. The shelter director, a burly trans man named Lee, shook our hands at the ceremony. This funds a safe house room. Kids like we were, now have beds, not benches. Ethan's eyes misted. Full circle. Back home, we hosted a low-key thanks dinner. Rita, Mia, visiting sans drama, a few center volunteers. Table groaned under potluck. Vegan enchiladas, Mia's apple pie, Ethan's experimental kale salad, edible, barely. Laughter flowed freer, stories swapping like currency. No Jake mentions, boundaries honored. But psychology's sly. Post-dinner, as cleanup commenced, Mia pulled me aside. He's stable now, sponsoring others in AA. Asked about you too. Not creepy, just curious. I nodded, guarded. Tell him we're good. That's all. She hugged quick. You are. Glows. Ethan overheard, later washing dishes. Curious? Or fishing? Water under. I dried a plate, deliberate. We've got our river. He relented, suds popping. True. But vigilance, yeah? Balance struck. Forgiveness as gift to self, not absolution for harm. Work arcs peaked. Ethan's archive project launched, Gala unveiling his designs. Bold murals of intertwined hands, colors rainbow spectrum. Keynote speaker, an elder. These visuals? They see us, past to present. Ethan, suit sharp, accepted applause modest. I hooped loudest, pride swelling. Post-party, alley kiss under street lamp. My artist. Yours. His grin, boyish. My panel success birthed a blog, Rebound to Rebuild. Anonymous essays on post-toxic love. Readers emailed, your words? Mirror. Thank you. Validation layered, building resilience. Misunderstanding crested soft, a nightmare chain. Me dreaming Jake's return, waking to Ethan's absence. Found him sketching in kitchen, dawn light haloing. Couldn't sleep. Drew this. A piece. Us as lighthouses, beams crossing fog. Beautiful. I traced lines. But cold beds not. Sorry. Old habit. Retreat to create. We talked then, raw. His art is therapy, mine words. Use me as muse, I urged. Not escape. Promise made, integrated, joint sketch sessions, my poems inspiring his lines. Prejudice reared subtle. Trent at Ethan's firm, post-gala. Great work, but dial back the personal themes. Clients want neutral. Ethan documented, HR looped, firm policy cited, Trent warned. Victory small, but empowering. Change from within, he said. Surprise gift, Jake's indirect. Through Mia, a book, The Velvet Rage, on gay men's internalized shame. Inscribed, for clarity. J. I read, highlighted passages mirroring his rages, my complicity. Shared with Ethan, explains much. Healing read. Ethan nodded. For him too, maybe. High Drama's Echo, a center fundraiser, us volunteering, booths, bingo with drag hosts. Midway, a face from Seattle, our old mutual, Derek, now sober ally. Heard the saga. Jake's a mess, but you too? Legends. Reconnect bridge divides. Derek joining game nights. Network expanding. Winter solstice brought ritual. Bonfire at a friend's farm outside city. Queers gathered. Stories, round flames, songs off-key. Ethan and I shared a tale. From toxic flight to tandem flight. Crowd cheered, marshmallows toasting. Later, under stars, his whisper, this family? Chose it. Made it. My hand in his. New year dawned crisp. Resolutions whispered. Travel light. Love loud. Spring surprised with proposal. Not knee, but creative. Ethan's mural commission. Our figures woven in. Subtle ring etched in one hand. Marry this mess. Note read. Tears, yes. Party small. Rita officiating. Mia toasting. Derek DJing. Summer sailed smooth. Honeymoon road trip. Coastal curve. Stops at queer B&BS. Nights in hammocks stargazing. Fall found us house hunting. Duplex too cramped for dreams. Found a bungalow. Garden plot for herbs. Porch for coffees. Jake's arc closed gentle. A letter, post-rehab grad. Free now. You freed me, indirectly. Be epic. We framed it, not as trophy, but testament. Growth possible. Years layered. Adoptions discussed. Art shows. Book launches. Conflicts? Minor. Renos. Routines, but navigated with tools honed. Talk. Touch. Trust. The quiet best friend? My loudest love. Safe place. Not stasis, but springboard. In America's mosaic, we carved ours. Resilient, radiant, real.